โอเคต่อเลยนะครับวิทยากรท่านต่อไปมาแล้วก็จะเป็นการบรรยายเป็นภาษาอังกฤษนะครับก็จะสะกดพวกเราได้พอสมควรเลยนะจากนี้ไปเนี่ยนะแต่ผมบอกได้เลยนะครับว่าวิทยากรท่านต่อไปเนี่ยไม่ได้จะมาพูดกันง่ายๆนะครับแล้วเราก็รู้จักของเครือไมเนอร์ดีอยู่แล้วแล้วเราก็รู้จักดีอยู่แล้วว่าไมเนอร์มีความกว้างขวางใหญ่โตขนาดไหนในแบรนด์ต่างๆที่เกิดขึ้นเพราะฉะนั้นผมอยากจะให้เราได้นั่งฟังให้ดีที่สุดคือวิทยากรตั้งแต่เมื่อกี้คุณต้นสนกับคุณบิวเนี่ยไม่ได้ไปพูดง่ายนักนะครับง่ายนักมันเป็นโอกาสดีมากที่เราจะได้รับฟังอีกครั้งหนึ่งจากก็ขออนุญาตให้พวกเราได้เดี๋ยวแป๊บหนึ่งนะให้เขาได้สนทนากันนิดนึงกันไม่ต้องเบรกแล้วไม่ต้องเบรกแล้วเลทนิดนึงแล้วเอาแต่ว่าใครมีคำถามอะไรเขียนได้นะครับเดี๋ยวแล้วก็อาจจะดีเลย์ไปนิดนึงอาจจะเลิกสักเที่ยง15เนาะเที่ยง15เที่ยงครึ่งกินข้าวครึ่งชั่วโมงเหมือนเดิมนะครับเนาะเพราะว่าเดี๋ยวกองกลางกำลังลงเครื่องแล้วนะครับกำลังมาอยู่นะครับโอเคBill, you ready, right? Yes. Okay. Sorry to interrupt. So, I'd like to introduce you to the chairman and the founder of Minor Group, Kun Bill Heinecke. Thank you, Kun Bill.
Okay, that's the thunder. Okay. See if I can. All right, now I'm going to challenge you because the language of hospitality is English. So, and my Thai is terrible. So we're going to have this course in English. And but in case you guys want to see the slides, you better move back to your good seat. Otherwise, your necks will be craning. So before I get going, I just want to thank you guys for having me here. I flew in today from Hue Hin, and I had a press conference yesterday. It was quite critical of our Thai government to open up, because unless they want to kill Thailand, we have to open up again. No insurance, no PCR tests. Let everyone decide for themselves about masks, but no insurance. We just have to make it easy to come back to Thailand. Otherwise, we're going to lose. And we did such a good job of opening up Sandbox. We've done such a good job during COVID to protect everyone. But now, I have to say to you that I'm so disappointed. Even Singapore is ahead of us, Cambodia is ahead of us, Philippines is ahead of us. The Maldives always was ahead of us. In the Maldives during this period, the hotel industry made more money during COVID than they made before COVID. And that's a lesson. That's what Thailand lost during this period. So with that, let me begin. I've got a little bit more formal. I've got a few slides for you, which hopefully I will figure out how to do. And but I think what I'd like to do today is tell you a little bit about the journey that we've had from being a small local business in Thailand to a global company. Minor International is 50 years, more than 50 years of doing business here now, and can be described as a bit of a roller coaster ride. We've had to close our eyes many times and hold on with the terror of working and living in a country which is controlled by politicians or by the army. And those are rather scary times. We faced a lot of challenges, as you all know, but as we also know, this COVID-19 pandemic was probably the most significant shock that anyone's ever faced anywhere in the world. And we all faced it together. We were all in the same boat about COVID. Sooner or later, we'll all be able to put this COVID experience behind us. I'd like to share with you today a little bit how Minor International adapted itself in the face of the adversity and above all remained resilient. That is one of the most important qualities, I believe, for any successful business, especially in the challenging times like we now see from COVID. So now the big experiment will be if I can get the next slide on. Yep, there we go. So breaking into hospitality. You know, for us, a great example of what we did is we broke into the hospitality business in 1979. At that time, Americans were the biggest tourists for Thailand. And this hotel, that our very first hotel there, was called the Royal Garden Resort. And it was an R&R center, because the main tourists for Thailand in the 1970s were the military, the U.S. military, who were going to Vietnam and fighting the Vietnamese and the wars around here. So actually, American tourism was the #1 tourism traveler. And we started out with a hotel in Pattaya. So our very first hotel was Pattaya. Pattaya was a pretty small market. A lot of the big hotel groups, the good ones, the successful ones, like Dusit, they started in Bangkok. Kata, which is very successful, started in Phuket. But we probably started in the most challenging place in Thailand, and that was Pattaya. And we're still there, and we're still operating. Another example is us introducing the first Asian franchise of Pizza Hut. And we also brought in Dairy Queen, Swenson, so many different brands. The one thing I missed living in Thailand, growing up in Thailand, more than most of you. I've lived here longer, but your English is a lot better than my Thai. But anyway, we tried to fill a gap, and the gap that I saw, because every time I went to America, I missed ice cream, I missed pizza, burgers, what have you. So that's all I did, is I tried to bring something that I loved to Thailand. And as a result, that was really one of the things that really helped us moving along very well. The other thing that happened was that we became a franchisee for Swenson's, and we found that we had another successful thing on our mind. But what it taught me was that you mustn't pay too much attention to research sometimes. You have to go with your gut feeling. The reason for going with your gut feeling is because research told us that Thai people didn't eat dairy products. Back in the 1970s, we had an enzyme that was missing, which only comes from when you have a lot of dairy products. And as a result of that, if we had done research, we would have discovered that pizza will not sell in Thailand because it has cheese. And Swenson's won't work well because it has dairy. And both of those things made people sick until they became your age, and now you've built up that enzyme, and everybody loves ice cream, everybody loves pizza and cheese and what have you. But when we started, and had I done any research, I wouldn't have started my business. So sometimes you got to go with your gut feeling and not necessarily with the research. All right, let's see what else we have. You know, one of the things, we've done a lot of pioneering in our time. We pioneered the first call centers. Can everybody hear me there? It's okay? Okay, we pioneered the first call centers. We pioneered delivery. This is all back in the 80s, long before Grab or Panda or any of these people. We already did it. You could get your pizza to your house quicker than you could get an ambulance. You know, if you had to go to the hospital, it might take you an hour or 2 hours to get the ambulance to come and get you. But if you wanted a pizza, we began to guarantee you, we'd deliver it to you within 30 minutes. And we're still trying to guarantee that 30 minutes. And now we're delivering ice cream and everything else as well. So it's been a very exciting thing, and we pioneered that, and even call centers. If you call for pizza, what number do you call? You got it. Sip at Sip Song, and then you're in business. So don't remember any other number. And all right, let's see what else I can share with you. We've had many not so mild milestones, minor milestones. We started with Pizza Hut, but after working with them for 20 years, they said, no, we want to take it back. We want to do it ourselves. And I said, you can't do that. We have 100 stores. We have 5,000 staff. And they said, yes, we can. The contract's over. Pizza Hut belongs to Yum. In those days, it was Pepsi Cola. And they said, they're taking it back. And I said, you really can't do that to us. We need we need your business. We only wanted to continue. Well, they said they wouldn't allow us to continue, and we sued them to let us continue. And they said, the judge said to me, he said, you may win because we had the right to extend for 5 more years. But he said, after the 5 years, you'll never win again. So why don't you go your own way? So we agreed we would create our own brand, the pizza company. And some of you may remember that. That started in 2001, about 21 years ago. And we began with the belief that we could build a better pizza and execute it better than Pizza Hut. But they forgot that we learned a lot during the 20 years that we ran Pizza Hut. We knew what Thai consumers liked. We knew what they didn't like. And now we started changing the pizza to give them what they wanted. One of the big complaints in Thailand was always that there wasn't enough tomato sauce, and everybody wanted ketchup, extra ketchup. So we put more tomato sauce on the pizza company pizzas. And then we found out that people really wanted big toppings, good pork and beef and what have you. So we put big toppings, big chunks of meat and everything on the pizza. And that resonated with everybody. And overnight, pizza company became an instant success. And to this day, we still outsell our friends at Pizza Hut. Okay. Then we launched something rather interesting for Thailand. Also in 2001, we launched a brand. We'd been working with Marriott, we'd been working with a number of hotel companies, but we decided to create our own brand. And the brand had to be very indigenous to Thailand. So we created Anantara. And that was really the first Thai-influenced hotel. We tried to use Thai architecture. We tried to make the hotel inside and out reflect the friendliness and the hospitality that we know as Thailand. Thailand, we're not very good at textiles, shoes, chips, manufacturing those things. But you know what? Thailand is world-class at tourism. World-class. We are the best in the world. And I can tell you that when we get people allowed to come back to Thailand, travel will again boom. And this is the right industry to be in. And you won't regret your decision on that. Anyway, we created Anantara as an indigenous brand. We tried to make it look very Thai here in Thailand. But when we took the brand international, we made it into a Maldivian brand when we went to the Maldives. We made it into an Emirati brand when we went to Dubai. So it reflected the local culture. And as a result, it became very successful. We also started another brand, which was much more contemporary, younger, and that was our Avani brand. And that really was appealing to very contemporary people, and it's also been very successful. And we have a couple now here in Phuket. We have one in Samui. We've got 2 in Krabi. We've got 1 in Khao Lak. We have 1 here in Mai Khao. So that's our newest brand, and actually it's even growing faster than Anantara, because Anantara is, by competing in that 5-star luxury category, we obviously grow a little bit more slowly. But I'm pleased to see we have 8 Anantara hotels in Europe. We're in Rome, we're in Marbella, Spain, we're in Cannes, in France, we're in Dublin. So we've expanded the Anantara brand globally. And that's been a very exciting thing for us to take a brand that started in Thailand and now has gone around the world. We also pioneered real luxury. Before we started Anantara, we started with 4 Seasons. We learned so much from 4 Seasons. Some of you may have read my book, and if you haven't, then you better go buy it. Don't worry about paying money for it, because all the money goes to charity. None of it comes to me. But in that book, I talked about bringing the 4 Seasons to Chiang Mai. In those days, nobody stayed overnight in Chiang Mai, at least not luxury customers. They would fly up, do a day trip, and fly back. If they were unlucky, they might spend 1 night in a local hotel that made half the rate of Bangkok. So we figured out that if we opened a deluxe hotel in Chiang Mai, a super deluxe hotel, we would be successful, but we would be having to charge one of the highest rates, and that we did. And then we found that people really loved Chiang Mai, the culture, and from that we then realized that we had an opportunity. So we now have the #1 hotel in Chiang Mai and the #2 hotel. The #1 hotel during this COVID period has been the Anantara, and the #2 hotel has been the Four Seasons. When we have Americans and other international guests, usually the Four Seasons is #1 and Anantara is #2. And we do the same thing in Chiang Rai. And so we're used to competing with the very best hotels in the world. And this is important to us because that's how we learn so much. And I call it benchmarking. And the idea is that we try to be as good as our competitors, and when we can equal them, then we try to be better. All right, let me now tell you a little bit about external factors. This slide is a little bit small, but you know, we've had so many crises, it's not even funny. You know, we've had SARS, we had 9/11, and I think you could see from this stuff what's happened. We had a tsunami which destroyed the Anantara in Khao Lak. We had coups in Bangkok. We had financial crisis. We had the airport closures. We had Pattaya riots. We had Ropersong riots. We had flooding. We had a Bangkok shutdown. We had a coup d'etat. You know, we've had everything. We've had yellow shirts, red shirts, you name it, we've had it. So, but you know, the one thing is Thailand always bounced back, and it's very resilient, and it's very strong. And it's really a phenomenal country because the people are so phenomenal. And, you know, it's going to be the next generation like you that's going to make it continue to prosper and survive and move ahead. So our first international expansion, interestingly enough, came in the, let's see if I can get this, the Maldives. And the reason we got into the Maldives, you know, from great crisis or great tragedy or you often get great opportunities. Well, we had a hotel that I owned 50% of in Khao Lak called Coco Palm. And our partner was a Maldivian man, but he could never make money in Khao Lak. He was struggling, and he said, look, I can't do it. You do it, but you have to buy half. And I said, okay, I'll buy half. So we bought half of that hotel in Khao Lak, and we opened it up. We bought it, and we opened it. And in December, the hotel was destroyed, 100%. Lost. We lost staff. Some of them lost their lives. We lost guests. And that was in the tsunami. But our partner, he was so appreciative because I came to Phuket on the day of the tsunami. Our plane, my plane, was the second plane to land. The first plane to land was Thaksin. And we were the second plane. We went straight to Khao Lak. And it was really, for me, I will never forget that day and that experience. And I brought my son and our CEO, and we stayed for about a week, giving out clothes. We opened up the JW Marriott to things. It was fantastic to see what a leader like Thaksin did. I have to say it. When he came down on that first day, he said, everyone lost their passports, everyone lost their tickets. Nobody had any money. And he insisted that every airline must fly people back free. Don't look for a ticket. They can return home without their ticket. They can leave Thailand without their passport. They didn't have to pay the airport charge in Phuket. They could leave. He took tremendous leadership on, and everyone in the world respected Thailand for having handled the crisis so well. And I'll never forget, actually, many of the tourists from Phuket, they went to Bangkok. And when they landed in Bangkok, they were connecting on another plane. They didn't have any money, they didn't have a passport. And someone at Don Mueang Airport in those said, oh, you have to pay passenger fee, 500 baht. Well, I got to tell you, Thaksin fired the manager of the airport again, because that's so crazy. We had done such a good job in Phuket, and then Bangkok was going to screw it up, asking for money from people that had no money, no tickets, no nothing. But anyway, it was from that event, and we had to clean up our hotel. We had to claim from the insurance. We had an insurance claim of, I think, 400 or 500 million baht, and it was 100% destroyed. And we did such a good job looking after our staff, looking after the guests. It was such a mess here in Phuket during the tsunami. But then what happened is our Maldivian partner said, look, you've done such a good job. I'm so impressed. Would you like to join me in the Maldives? And he said, I have 3 hotels. I'll sell you 50%, but you have to help me rebuild them because they were all destroyed in the tsunami. But we helped him rebuild it, and those were 3 of our most profitable hotels ever, and they were in the Maldives. And that came because of the tragedy and the opportunity to go international and really be an international company. You know, speaking of all these crises, is that, you know, one of the things that also taught us was that we really had to go outside of Thailand because the external factors, did I do the right one? That fueled the crisis also fueled, whoop, I'm going the wrong way.
No change.
Okay, thank you. Let's see. If I get my slides caught up. No? Okay, those are the external factors. Our mark we went outside of Thailand, and then we started to expand. We realized we couldn't just survive in Thailand. We wanted to be the first Thai company that was a multinational company. So that meant going international. And our first growth from that was the coffee club, which we acquired. Many of you will know Coffee Club from Phuket. We have it all over the world now. And, but we bought the company in Australia. And that was really our first step into international food and beverage. And we've now taken it from Australia to Thailand, to the Middle East, to Vietnam, to Maldives, to Seychelles. So we followed our hotel group with our fast food brands. We reinforced our presence in Australia by buying an Australian hotel company. So we started by buying Coffee Club, but then we bought Oaks, which is one of the largest service apartments and hotel groups in Australia. And we have today about 50 hotels in Australia and New Zealand. And we have our first Oaks hotels outside of Australia in Dubai and in, let's see, where else do we have it? We have in Abu Dhabi, Dubai, and many other places in the Middle East, Qatar. So that's been another very good step for us as we went international. And then we took on Europe and South Africa, and by acquiring the Tivoli hotels from Portugal and the African Sun properties. And that took us to Europe, South Africa, and even South America. So then we became truly much more international. And of course, the biggest acquisition we made was the NH Hotel Group, which we bought just before COVID. So we paid $7 billion. That's what, about almost 100 billion baht to buy this. And it wasn't very bright thinking on my side because it was just before COVID. And the last thing you wanted to buy as we go into COVID was a hotel group of 350 hotels. And Bangkok Bank and many of the Thai bankers lent me the money to go and buy this hotel. They believed in what we were doing. We wanted to become an international chain, and this helped us to become the 19th biggest hotel group in the world. So we suddenly had 80,000 hotel rooms and something like 90,000 employees. So we became a pretty big giant. And what really affected us during the this crisis was the fact that when we bought NH, many of the hotels, we owned them, a lot of hotels we own in Europe, but we also leased a lot of hotels. And in Europe, the laws are very tough when you sign a lease for a hotel. So we signed leases, and we had leases for many hotels in cities in Milan and Rome and what have you, and some of them were 50 years. And then what the landlord said when COVID came, we said, okay, please, we won't pay the rent. And, you know, they said, no problem. You know, but please understand, we will take back the hotel. And we thought, well, you know, okay, you know, maybe it's not so bad. We might lose a few hotels. And then they said, but don't forget, even though we take back the hotel, we will still sue you for 30 years or 40 years or 50 years because you still have to pay the rent even after we take the hotel back. So we said, okay, never mind, we will swallow this. And we paid nearly $1 billion to keep those leases going and keep our staff employed. And so we suffered a huge loss during the course of this last 2 years. We lost about 30 billion baht cash, not paper, but cash. And I can tell you, it took me more than 50 years to get to be $1 billion in net worth or equity or whatever. But we lost it in 2 years. So 50 years of work gone in 2 years. But we had the same crisis in 1997. And I'm convinced that given 2 good years, we will bounce back completely. We're already predicting that if the government listens to Kun Ko, and if they listen to some of the other people that are complaining, then by the 4th quarter of this year, we predict that our profit globally, not only globally, we can surpass 2019 4th quarter. Just the quarter. We're still going to have a rough 6 months, but that's what's hopefully going to happen. And I believe it. And if you're a gambler, then you better buy a couple of minor shares, and you'll be all right. So, all right. You know, it's fair to say that some of the best deals we did, you know, are the ones we did not do. You know, I once tried to buy a hotel in Burma, and I was the second bidder, and I was so unhappy, you know, being the second bidder. Because I thought that was the greatest opportunity to be in Burma, in Yangon. Well, you know, you all know what's happened to Burma. That was 40 years ago, and that hotel still doesn't make money. It's a total disaster. Burma and Myanmar is a total disaster. And so sometimes the best deal you do is the one you don't do. So we didn't win that bid, and for that I'm very so, but people ask, why do we, how are we, are we successful? And what's our approach to investing for growth? And it really comes down to 3 things. We do our homework, we try to stay focused and disciplined, and we try to be agile and flexible. So that means really that we really have to be very careful. And that's why I think Minor has been able to be successful over the last 55 years, because we've done our homework, we've always remained focused and disciplined, we're agile and flexible, and we're not afraid to walk away. If something gets beyond what we think is correct, we go, we will sell or we'll buy. But only then. You know, to give you an example, during our theory on buying hotels is we always buy at 10 times EBITDA. So if a hotel makes $1 million a year in EBITDA, we'll buy it for $10 million. If they make $2 million, we'll buy it for $20 million. But that also means that sometimes when the market goes up, and because we have some very good properties, and some of the investors, people like BlackRock, which are so big in the industry, and insurance companies, pension funds, during this crisis, we sold hotels at 20 times EBITDA. So we sold them. They were beautiful hotels. Even some of the Maldives hotels, we sold them, because we need a balance sheet. And so whenever we can get the right price, there's no emotion. As much as I love these hotels, I built the hotels, but we're willing to sell them if we get the right price. And in this particular time, because we wanted to survive this crisis, we had to sell some of them. You know, let me give you another example. We were trying to buy, before NH, we were trying to buy a company called Belmont, which before was called the Orient Express Hotels. It's really one of the best hotel groups in the world. They were acknowledged as one of the best, and we thought if we could buy them, we'd be fantastic. And we bought shares. They're a public company, so it was wasn't difficult to buy their shares. And we thought, you know, if we could just get a seat at the table. When we started buying their shares at about 6 or 7 times EBITDA. So it was a good deal based on our discipline and our focus. Well, pretty soon a company called LVMH, they suddenly began to think that this was a good company too. So they started buying the shares. And suddenly the shares went up, and LVMH bought it for 28 times EBITDA. Well, we sold our shares. We doubled our money, we sold our shares, and we went and bought NH, because NH in 2018, when we bought it, or 2019, was only 9 times EBITDA. So we are very disciplined about what we're going to buy, what we're going to sell. And that's been one of the reasons why we've survived and been successful. So Belmont got sold finally at 28 times, one of the most expensive hotels. It sold for something in excess of 3 billion or 4 billion, and it was much smaller than NH hotels. They had less than 100 hotels. We bought 350 hotels when we bought NH. So that turned out to be a good acquisition for us. Although, you know, people say to me, well, you paid 2.7 billion and then you lost so much money. I said, no, actually I paid 3.7 billion. 2.7 to buy it and 1 billion to learn about it during COVID. But now we have a fantastic hotel at 3.7 billion. So another example that we studied was a company called, that was Belmont, buying the group there for 3.2 billion, sorry. And so we were very happy to sell to LVMH. And then another one which we looked at, tried to buy, was Six Senses. But they, you know, they considered it was a luxury market, and finally has deep pockets and maybe doesn't have shareholders that are as tough as our shareholders. And so they finally went and were $300 million. And this is a luxury resort which only had, let me think, how many contracts did they have? They had 16 management contracts. They didn't even own any hotels. They had 16 management contracts, and they were sold for 300 million. This was something like about 40 or 50 times EBITDA. It was a crazy deal. But IHG is a big company, and they can afford to do crazy deals. So we didn't do that one. But we're happy that IHG bought it, and we didn't. And our shareholders are happy too. So we do our homework, and we know what we want. We know how to go about it, and we know what prices we'll find attractive, and we stick to our guns. It's easy to have a plan, but sticking to the plan with conviction and not steering from that throughout the process takes great control. It pays to have a disciplined and focused investment approach. Last night we took part in a bidding for a hotel, for a restaurant group in London, which we were having a disagreement over. We own 75% and the other people own 25%. And they weren't happy with us having the 7, and they wanted to buy us out. And we finally put it into what we call administration so that we could have a bidding process to see who gets it. Well, he tried to buy it, and we also tried to buy it, so we were starting to bid. And the bidding ended last night, or at about 3 o'clock in the morning in London time. And we were prepared to pay up to 110 million pounds for that. That's the calculation we did. We bought it for 76 million pounds. So we were very happy. And that will now be 100% owned by us. It's been only 75% owned by us in the past. It's a company called Wolseley, and they have many restaurants. Anybody been to London? Anybody been to Wolseley, the restaurant? There you go. Kun Go's been there. Okay. Great restaurant. My favorite restaurant. I could never get a table. So I said, okay, this is a company we have to buy. So we bought the restaurant. Now I can always get a table. So anyway, good. Let's see what else we have here. Okay, you can make your reservations through me. No problem. What? All right, no problem. So let's see. Whoop. Now, why does this go backwards? Is it right? So stay, do your homework, focus, discipline, agile, flexile. The other one that we bought was a company called Tivoli in Portugal. And that was another very good, it was nearly a 80-year-old company. They had many beautiful hotels in Lisbon and in South America and Brazil. So, but they ran into liquidity problems, like many companies. They went into bankruptcy, bought them out of bankruptcy. But we believed in Portugal and the economic recovery of Portugal. Portugal had a very hard time, and but we managed to get it. We got it at the right price, and when that started, we bought 14 hotels for, I think it was 300 million euros, and we sold 5 hotels for over 300 million after the recovery within 2 years. So we recovered our whole, and we still owned the other 7 hotels. And remember, when we sell hotels, we take back the management. So we don't just sell them and insist that we want to be the managers. And most new owners look at what a good job we did with minor hotels. And then they say, very happy, you can keep managing it. You get paid for managing it. So we recover our investment, but we still keep the hotel in our chain of hotels, and we still maintain the management. Okay. So what happened during the NH deal? Let's see if I've done something. There we go. So, you know, the NH deal was a very complicated one, and it was our biggest acquisition. We acquired a portfolio of 350 hotels, which was twice as big as Minor, or twice as big as our hotels. The acquisition value, as I mentioned, was 2.7 billion US dollars, which was twice the value of Minor at that time. Our net worth was only 1.6 or 1.7 billion dollars. So it was a big step for us. But with our agility, our creativity, we got it at the price we wanted, and we had to undergo a major equity raising, which we did. And I've never regretted that decision, in spite of COVID, that we went forward with NH. NH was a hugely attractive investment to us for several reasons. Not only did it have great hotels and a portfolio that we really admired, and they were only in countries where we weren't. They had no hotels in Asia, NH hotels. They had no hotels in Australia. They had no hotels in Africa. They had hotels in South America and in Europe, and that was exactly what we wanted. I think we only had 3 hotels in South America, so when we bought them, we got a big footprint in South America. So it was really, I would like to say, a marriage made in heaven, because they complemented us in everything. And yet we also acquired some very talented people. You know, when I bought that company, many people thought we were buying it for their profits. And I went to the first town hall where we met with everybody, and I said, look, guys, no matter what anybody says, I'm not buying you for your profits. I'm not buying you for your great assets. What I'm really buying this company for is the people. Because I got, at that time, about 40,000 people that were more experienced than the people in Thailand. After we bought the company, we didn't send anyone from Thailand to Spain. But I brought 6 people from Spain to Thailand to do our business a bit better. And it's been a fantastic help for us. They've done, you know, they already had things like check in with your telephone already before we ever dreamed of it, you know, and they knew everything. And they had a loyalty program. Today, our loyalty program, we have 25 million members that use the Minor Hotel app and our card as a loyalty member and get points. So this has been a fantastically attractive investment for us. And as I mentioned to you, we 9 times EBITDA, so it also met our disciplined approach. And we had to bid with many people, but we managed to get it. The main reason we got it, I can tell you, was an interesting story, was that we bought a lot of shares from a company called Hainan Airlines, which was going bankrupt in China, and they owned 25%. So we bought the 25% first, and then we started buying in the market. When we had 45% of the company, we made a takeover bid. We also were clever enough to get one person to agree to sell to us. I think I'm losing my next microphone. so I've probably been talking too much. But so anyway, so thank you. So, you know, the company was Hyatt, and Hyatt suddenly woke up and said, wow, that's so cheap. You know, what are they doing? That company from Thailand, you know, they're trying to buy this, steal this company for such a low price. And so they offered, we offered at that time $6. And Hyatt Hotel offered $8.50. And they thought they could get it. The problem was we already owned 48, and we already had a promise for some people to sell it to us. So we had gotten the company. And I think one of the newspapers said, you know, or our CEO said to one of the newspapers that it was like going to the wedding after the bride and groom left, because it was too late. They missed it. So we were very happy. Now I want to tell you that had Minor sold their shares, this is in 2018, we would have made $1 billion by selling it back to Hyatt Hotel, and we could have slept well during COVID, and we wouldn't have all these headaches. We wouldn't have lost $1 billion. We would have made $1 billion. But you know, never mind. We're still the 19th biggest hotel company, and we did a good job, and we benefited from that. So it was an exciting period for us, and we were so pleased that we stayed with our homework, doing our homework, stayed disciplined, and stayed agile. Let's see. The other thing with our acquisition rationale is that we look very much at the quality of assets, and we look very much at the strategic value of them. And really, the NH ticked all the boxes. They had strong brands. They were dominant in Europe. They had a great geographical footprint. Their hotel portfolio was in key European locations. We're in Rome, we're in Milan, we're in Tuscany, we're in Florence, we're in all the great locations. It was financially attractive, as you know, and also they had highly attractive assets. You know, they had some of the best properties in Europe. You can't get into Milan or Rome or any of these cities now. It's too hard. There's too many environmental permits. You can't get a construction permit. You can't afford to buy the land. So we're very lucky to have the prime locations that we have. And that will keep Minor busy for many, many years to come, redeveloping and changing, converting some hotels to be Anantara, converting some hotels to be Avani, opening up new NH hotels. So it's really a very exciting thing. But as I mentioned to you, what we really got was we got some fantastic people. Yes, we got assets, that was all bonus. But what that doesn't show was that we got incredible people. Because when you ask me what keeps me up at night, what is it that doesn't let me sleep? What doesn't let me sleep is I'm worried about getting good people, great people. And if you want to know why I'm here, it's because I think all of you are going to become great entrepreneurs in the hospitality industry. And I hope a few of you will end up working somewhere, someplace for Minor. So keep that in mind. A little bit about our international footprint. Let's see if I can get this. You know, today, as I've mentioned, we're all over the world. NH really helped us to do that. And we've got incredible capital cities. You know, one of the newest ones was this hotel in Germany. We've got one in Copenhagen. So, you know, they're really very, very beautiful hotels. And I'm very honored and pleased that we were able to become the new custodian of these hotels. But really today, you know, we became the 19th largest hotel group. But I think the most important thing is we don't aim to be the biggest. We just want to be the best. And we want to be the most profitable. And we want to be the employer of choice. So we want people to want to join our company and want to work with Minor. I guess now the most interesting thing is to talk to you a little bit. And my last sort of subject is about how we cope with COVID. You know, this is our footprint around the world. So because COVID affected everyone, it really, let's see. There we go. It really affected everyone in the world. It affected every country in the world. I don't think any country missed out on COVID. And we did a few things because we're still living in the middle of this pandemic with Omicron, and perhaps some more new variants will come out in the future. But allow me to share briefly a few of the lessons that we learned during the crisis. We had a strategic roadmap during COVID. And frankly, what we did is during phase one, we set up and addressed the immediate priorities, which was the health and safety of our staff. We split them into financial and non-financial. And the very first thing that we had to do was we addressed health and safety. We addressed the business continuity management. We had to stay in business. If the hotel could stay open, we stayed open. Many of you may not remember, but when the government didn't know what to do when the pandemic began, we closed our hotels and we told the government we think they should close everywhere, and we closed down. And then we were one of the first groups to tell the government, look, it's now time to reopen. You can safely reopen, providing you take vaccinations, providing you do the things. And we then pushed them to reopen. And the sandbox, we were one of the people that was supporting Kun Go and all of his team as they pioneered the sandbox. So that was very important. The other thing that was very important for us was communication to all of our staff. When you got, as we had 80, 90,000 staff around the world, you had to have good communication. They were all a bit worried. They're worried about their jobs. They're worried about the disease. And then we had to make sure that we could continue to sustain ourselves. Financially, we had to do our own stress test. We had to do cost-cutting initiatives. We had liquidity and cash flow management. We had balance sheet management. And as we moved into phase two, which was to prepare for the medium-term rebound, after we addressed the emergencies, we then prepared for the rebound, which is coming. We're in the middle of the rebound right now. And that's where we really had to capture demand again, recovery, grow the share of wallet, get people to spend more, which they are. Rates are higher now, but there's fewer people traveling. We had to strengthen our brand equity, fortify our supply chain. We had to rationalize our cost structure. We had to reconfigure workforce and other support. Today, everybody multitasks. You can be working in the front office and you can also be doing housekeeping, because that's the only way we could survive and rebound. Phase three is the plan for the longer term, the new norm, post-COVID-19. We're going to do trend spotting. We're looking at customer behavior shifts. People want more wellness when they're traveling. They want to look better when they come back from their trip. They want to feel healthier. So we're putting in a lot more effort into clinics and IV treatments and aesthetics and weight loss and weight management and anti-aging, So these are things. If you wonder why I look so young, it's because I go to our anti-aging clinic, you see. And, don't you think I look good for 90? No, actually, only 73. But I am a tuat. So I'm a great-grandfather. So my grandson has already had a baby. So anyway, let me elaborate a little bit. Our company focused on ensuring sustainability and various other things. But what was really important was reducing our break-even point so that we could begin to recover profit. And we had to resume business as quickly as possible. Even today, we still haven't opened every hotel because there's still some markets where we have problems, even in Europe, and it isn't justified yet to reopen. But we're nearly there. We're 95% reopened with all of our hotels. And we're now managing our balance sheet very carefully so that we're ready to go. As a matter of fact, right now, although we went through a difficult time and lost a lot of money, today Minor International sits with over $1 billion. That means 30 billion baht in cash, because we're so nervous. Hotel industry, when you're in the hotel industry, banks are your good friends when the weather's shining and everything's fine. And when the weather starts to rain, they're not your best friends. And they want their money back. And they don't want to wait. Hotels take 7 or 8 years to recover their investments. But banks forget that. And when things go bad, they want their money back. So we were very scared. So we withdrew a lot of money from the banks. We kept $1 billion handy, just ready for when the banks would call or give us a hard time. Fortunately, they've been very supportive. and we haven't had to use that money. We have $1 billion in cash. We have another $1 billion that they promised to give us, but we've never held much hope that if we needed to call that money, we have a feeling the banks would find an excuse why they couldn't give it to us. So anyway, that's how we prepared for that. We also are known for having a drive culture, and but before I go there, I guess you may be wondering, why am I so confident about travel and all this? Right now, what we've seen in the Maldives, we've seen it in the Dubai, is that there's a huge amount of what I'll call revenge travel and shopping coming. And there's a huge pent-up demand for travel. And we're already seeing that. As a matter of fact, I'll go to the next slide. These were, I've didn't cover as quickly, but I will very quickly just say, we resumed business activities, we minimized cash burn. These are the real steps that we took. We reduced our break-even point in all of our hotels, we managed our balance sheet, and then we embraced the long-term norm. And this is how we've been pivoting from that, because we're ready for this revenge travel and shopping and the rise of pent-up demand among consumers all over the world, because they're all wanting to come back into the post-pandemic phase. People will desire to shop, to eat out. I think all of us are fed up with being at home, fed up with not having been able to go to our favorite restaurants, not been able to travel, go to our favorite countries. So believe me, this is a major trend now, and you've got to be ready for it. And for Minor, we will emerge from this pandemic more resilient, with a solid balance sheet, liquidity, a strong liquidity position, stronger operational platforms, and we're poised to take the leap, bringing the company well beyond recovery, and we expect that we can really grow intensively and extensively following this COVID. But I should talk a little bit about the culture of our company, and that's what we call a drive culture and collaboration. It's always been at the backbone of our organization. We truly value the potential of our diverse workforce, which each individual works proactively and collectively. Minor will continue to be a global organization with limitless opportunities to thrive and achieve. This drive culture and collaboration means that at Minor we grow our people, we respect each other's experiences and views, and above all, put financial results and other results ahead of ego. I think when you get into bidding wars and other things, it's amazing how ego can often make you make a bad mistake. And we try to keep ego out of our decision-making and out of our culture. Minor people deliver what we promise ethically, as committed and in a systematic way. We believe that collectively we can generate endless possibilities through our passion and tenacity. But when we succeed, we take time, and this is important, to enjoy the hard-earned fruits of our efforts and actions. So we like to celebrate. And those are important moments. When you've worked hard, remember to celebrate. I wrote in my book, there's a chapter, and it says, work hard, but play hard. If you're going to balance your life, you got to do both sides of it. You got to work hard, but you got to play hard. You got to enjoy life. You got to go out and go diving with Gungo and myself, and get on a boat, go to the islands. Anyway, I think you're drawing to an end of my presentation, and basically, I guess I would just like to say that now being a global company, being on the world stage, demands better and faster execution. Apart from the pandemic, we're also up against powerful established players, people like Four Seasons, Mandarin, Oriental, Hyatt, and you name it. And they're also ambitious, and they're also challengers. And we have online platforms now, and we've got empowered customer expectations. We have digital disruption. We have WhatsApp and you name it, telling people, their good experiences and their bad experiences. Today, if you serve a bad meal, by tomorrow morning, 1 million people can know you served a bad meal. If they have a bad time in your hotel, by tomorrow, 1 million people will know that hotel delivered a bad experience. So this is truly a difficult and disruptive time for everyone in the service industry. But finally, I think I will show you what our vision is. We've modified our vision a little bit, but it remains essentially the same. And that's to be a leader in delivering exceptional experiences that anticipate and satisfy customers' aspirations and positively impact all of our stakeholders. So with that, I'm going to conclude my presentation, and I guess if there's any time left, I'll take a few questions.
Yes, thank you very much. A big applause to Kun Bill Heinecke. Any questions you'd like to ask? Basically, before Kun Sia, have you been invested into like digital platform sort of startup?
We're also a small investor in BitCrub. I don't know if anybody noticed that, but we also became one of the facilitators in BitCrub.
Okay.
So yes, we're investing a huge amount of money. That's why I would urge everybody who's in with a small hotel, rethink the new norm and the new future, because today to compete in the digital world, you really need a huge platform. You need a huge investment to compete and stay ahead of the game. So I think only the big will survive. And that's why there's a tendency now to see a consolidation. You've got Marriott buying Starwood. You've got Hyatt buying, I think they bought, which one? Alila. You have people like IHG buying Six Senses. So I think it's going to be more and more difficult for small hotel companies to survive.
Especially the family-owned business could be a bit tough in
That's right.
terms of hotels.
Doesn't mean it's impossible, but it just means it's a bit tough. But don't forget, we started with only one hotel, and today we're the 19th biggest hotel in the world. And we have 550 hotels, and we're opening another 50 hotels over the next 2 years. So we're very ambitious too, and you have to do that, because to appeal to young people today to work in the hospital, you've also got to be able to show them growth. And so people joining Minor have the opportunity of working anywhere in the world, and we're growing, so they always have a chance to keep moving up. And that's some of the challenges sometimes with smaller companies. They have to move out to move up.
Right.
And we like to keep people to stay in the group and move up within the group.
You will also be interested to healthcare sort of business related. Can you elaborate, if you can, to us?
I think we've invested a lot of money recently. We've been investing in brands. We own Benihana. If anybody's ever been to Benihana, this is a brand that we have that's all around the world. We have the Wolseley, which we bought in London, and that was one side of the hotel business, is food and beverage, which has always been a mainstay. But what people didn't realize is that then hotels began to offer spas, but they were basically pampering spas. They just, you go in and have an hour, they rub your back, and you feel better, and it's great. But today, what we're seeing is people are more aware of anti-aging, of wellness, of staying healthy, immunity, trying to make sure that you don't catch COVID. And how are we going to do that? Well, there's so many treatments today. Almost any hospital or doctor will be able to tell you, you can do so much to improve your quality of life, to live longer, be active, but it all depends on your lifestyle. So what we're trying to do in many of our hotels today, we've opened clinics, and we're trying to change people's lifestyle, eat more healthy. So much of what goes wrong with you happens in your gut, and much of that depends on the food you eat. And even Burger King has got a plant burger, so we're trying to be healthy, even in pizzas and burgers and ice cream. We've got low-fat Swenson's ice cream. So we recognize that this is a new phenomena. But hotels are a great opportunity. We just opened a clinic in Hue Hin with a partner from India. We hope to open a clinic here in Phuket, possibly with BDMS, which is our first choice. And also one in Bangkok with BDMS. They have their own clinic, of course, BDMS, at the Movenpick Hotel.
Right.
But we want to cater to the 25 million customers that we have around the world, people that are members of our thing. So we're not really looking for the BDMS customers. And that's where a little bit of confusion comes in. I think they think we're going to steal somebody from Movenpick or from the hospital. But actually, we only want to cater to the international market. So my argument to BDMS is this is their chance to step global, without having to invest any money, and you don't have to go abroad.
go with minor can go anywhere.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and you can do that, or you can even have. We'll bring the international guests here because
Right.
Thailand is going to be famous. I can tell you now. You can hold my words for medical tourism. People are going to come from all over the world, not only to get cured here, but then they're going to find that it actually is a better lifestyle. Our weather never gets cold. Never gets too hot, never gets too cold. You know, go to the Middle East and it's too hot, you know, or it's too cold. Go to Europe, it's also miserable sometimes. So to me, we're lucky that we're in one of the best countries in the world to live in. So this is going to make medical tourism the #1 industry. Today, we expect wellness to contribute about $1.1 trillion of revenues globally. So this is a big, big industry.
Okay.
And we're lucky to be in 53 countries.
Great, thank you. Kun Sia, please.
Hello, Kun Bill. So my first question, actually, I have a few questions. But first of all, as Minor Hotels is now a global brand operator, I would say. So what are your strengths in putting a deal with owners? So like, is it from the AOP, area of protection? Is it from the low management fees, or is it from the FF&E routes up front? Can you elaborate the strength of
I think the
your
most
contract?
important thing is delivering results for an owner. An owner really has made a big investment in his hotel, and he really needs results. He wants financial results. That's the only thing that they really are thinking about, owners generally. So that's where our focus is. We're not the cheapest, but you get what you pay for, as we like to say in the world. Yeah. So we do give protection, because if you don't give certain protections, you won't be able to ensure that the owner is profitable. You know, this becomes very complicated. We have always been with we call our legacy assets. We used to own the Marriott, well, we still own the JW Marriott Phuket. We're suing them.
Yeah.
We're so fed up with them because, you know, they have their loyalty program, but the difference is our loyalty program is up to the rates. In Marriott's loyalty program, they set the rates. So that means that I have to take a customer, because he's a loyal Marriott member, at maybe only $50 a night, when I can get plenty of customers for $200 a night. But that's part of the penalty of working with Marriott. There's a lot of positives, but there's many negatives. You know, one of the other negatives that we have is that we were the first Marriott hotel in Phuket. But guess what? Our Marriott hotel has trained most of the staff for all the Marriott hotels around here. And that wasn't done by them paying for it. I paid for that. I paid for the training. I paid for the people development. And now they all work everywhere else with Marriott.
Because you're the first.
I know. That's the problem with being the first. And we did the same thing for Four Seasons. And we did the same thing for other hotels. So today we have moved towards more performance, and what Minor tries to give to all owners is better performance than they can get from Hyatt, Marriott, whatever. And we do that with a lot of hard work and a lot of passion.
Yep. And going to my second question, actually, so with you working with a lot of brand operators, like you said, Four Seasons or Marriott, so with one being a very concentrated marketing, which is like Four Seasons, and a brand with a vast portfolio, whether it's previously the Starwood, before the M&A, and Marriott, what are the two differences between the two type of brands you work with?
Oof. I'm not sure I got the whole question, but I'm guessing that you were describing, your mask has to come off just for the question. Okay, now say it again.
Hello? Yeah. So what are the differences between working with a Four Seasons, which is a single branded portfolio, and a brand like Marriott or Starwood that has a vast portfolio?
It's all about performance. And, you know, finally at the end, it's financial performance. You know, our Four Seasons, we have a Four Seasons hotel in Chiang Rai. And, you know, it wasn't Four Seasons' idea, it was mine. Before everybody started talking about glamping, you know, I think 15 years ago, I decided I wanted to build a tent, because we have tented camps and hotels in Africa, and they make a fortune. Very cheap to build, and they do extremely well. So I said to Four Seasons, I want to open a tented camp in Chiang Rai. And they said, well, what do you have in Chiang Rai? I said, well, we've got elephants. I said, elephants, you know, they said, we're not sure that people want to go and see elephants. And, you know, is that all you have? And I said, well, that's all we really have. We have mountains, They said, mountains? How high are your mountains? I said, well, it's about 1,000 meters. They said, those aren't mountains. Those are hills. Those are little hills. So they predicted that Chiang Mai or Chiang Rai would not work. And I said, give me a chance. I will open 15 rooms under the brand Four Seasons. And I will support you from Anantara, where I have a 70-room hotel in the Golden Triangle. And that hotel became the #1 hotel in the world. And believe me, it's easy to become a #1 hotel if you only operate 15 rooms. And we had 5 staff for every room. But the other thing was that it also got the highest rates in Thailand. We didn't have any Thai customers because the rate that we charge is 50,000 baht a night. And there's no TV and there's no minibar. So you're paying for what you don't get when you go to Chiang Rai to the Four Seasons tenant camp. And that's what we're delivering, and a unique experience, you know. So we did that, and it's been very successful. And today, even today, we are still the highest rate in all of Thailand, both from an ADR and a RevPAR.
And the occupancy is still very
And
good.
the occupancy, it's not that great, but it's about 55%. But at that rate, at 40,000 baht, you know,
It's okay.
It's okay, 50,000.
okay.
And that's excluding food, excluding what we charge you for the elephants and everything else. So, you know, and that's part of my charity because we rescue elephants. We help elephants. We don't sell rides on elephants. We teach people how to be a mahout. We also teach them how to bathe elephants, to learn about elephants. And we teach it even on schools. We do it live on television. We broadcast all around the world. And we've created more awareness, I think, for elephants than ever before. And it's a trademark for Thailand. You know,
I never been to Four Seasons Chiang Rai, but I've been many times to Anantara, Golden Triangle. Anyone been there before? Beautiful property.
Okay.
Beautiful.
Well, if you pay a little bit more money, the problem that we have with Thai people, let me be very honest with you. Thai people don't mind to spend 40,000 baht or 50,000 baht a night in London, but in their own country, never. And this has been, you know, one of the problems when you talk with local owners. The old theory of owners in Thailand is that you don't work for the benefit of Thailand. You don't want to help your competitors. So that means that, you know, for years I've tried to get a hotel to manage from TCC, you know, from Kun Charun. He likes Malia, which is a hopeless hotel company. He likes, you know, Banyan Tree. You know, we beat them all, and we could deliver much more financial results to him. But he would be helping his competitor. We are a competitor because they have their own hotels, we have hotels. And they forget that sometimes the most important thing is to do what's best for Thailand.
Right.
Go together. Right. You know, we've seen Gulf Energy, Kun Sarat, taking on AIS and taking on infrastructure and taking on things. And he's working together with his competitors. You know, this is how Thailand will get stronger, even in the hospitality business, is working together. You know, I'm very proud to say that we got the first hotel to manage from Central. They gave us the hotel. They own a hotel in Bern, in Germany. It's called the Bristol Hotel, beautiful hotel. And they gave it to us, NH, because they recognize that even though we're minor, in Europe, we have a very strong platform. And so they gave us that hotel to manage. And it's the young generation that now is saying, look, why don't we just give it to the best performance? And let's work together.
Correct.
And if they make more money and we make money, then together Thailand is going to prosper.
You introduced just the brand to NH in Chiang Mai.
Yes, that's
With
right.
my
Yes.
friend Kun Rose. How would you introduce to Chiang Mai? Why not Phuket first? I mean, the first NH is in Chiang Mai, right?
That's right. But don't forget, our first hotel was in Hue Hin, the Anantara. And the second hotel was in Chiang Rai. So we go sometimes to difficult places. Dusit started, as I mentioned to you, and even people like Central, they started with fantastic hotels in Bangkok. But that's the easy work, starting in Bangkok. The really tough one is when you start up country, because everything is cheaper. You have to work harder. You know, I think when we started in Pattaya, the room rate was only 500 baht a night. And if you brought a friend, we called it a joiner, then we could charge 250 baht extra because they would book a single room, but then they would bring a friend that they forgot to put on the reservation. And if we got the ID card, then we'd say, okay, another.
The extra shot.
So that helped the extra charge, and we survived. But in Bangkok, they never even bothered with that. They used to, never mind, you're paying such a high rate. You know, if you go stay at the Oriental Hotel, 5,000 baht, They don't ask you for a joiner charge. You can bring whoever you want.
Very much interesting about either NH and Tivoli. NH you introduced the first one in Chiang Mai already. Any like numbers of NH properties in Thailand so far that you?
Just that will be the first one, but we're trying to close a few more deals. So we're very anxious. We have signed contracts of about 50 hotels. We have 100 NH hotels coming in China. That's a big market for us. So we're building now. We've already opened the first couple and of NH. And when China reopens, which I hope they will reopen by the end of the year, our presence in China will be a big help to bring more tourists back to Phuket and the rest of the world.
And Tivoli in Thailand?
Tivoli, we're also looking at one in Thailand too. And even been talking about one in the south.
Okay.
So,
all right. คุณกัปตัน please เดี๋ยวน้องต่อนะไมโครโฟนหน่อยจ้าเดี๋ยวใครอีกนะคุณหญิงโอเค one two three we're gonna skip lunch right โอเคกัปตันเชิญครับ
So a lot of people are saying that there's no more mass tourism, right? So quantity will decrease, but especially in Phuket, there's like loads of supply. There's like loads of hotels already. So from your view, okay, two questions. First is like what's your prediction on this trend? And the second is since also Minor has like 500 or more hotels, what's your plan to mitigate the risks that will come with this trend of moving from quantity to quality?
Well, I think good question, very good question. I think first of all, taking Phuket, we don't really have, we have a lot of supply, there's no question. But don't forget, right now we have a limited amount of countries that will put up with coming to Thailand. The minute we drop all of these pretenses, and the minute China reopens and the rest of the world, which I predict will happen by the end of the year or early next year, the world will return to normal. Today, people worry and they say, well, what kind of hotels are you building? And we're building a new hotel in Maldives and we're building hotels in the Middle East. And I said, we're building them exactly the same as we did before because people haven't changed. It's the people are more similar than dissimilar. We want companionship. We want to travel. We want to shop. We want to go out. We want to eat. So travel is going to be the same. But your second question was on how we're going to prepare. There is, I said in my book, what scares me the most is the crisis that I don't know. If you ask me now, am I worried about a tsunami in Phuket? No, I've done it already. We know what to do. We got a book, page 6. This is how you do with a tsunami. We know with financial crisis, oil prices, $120. My God, Sri Lanka is nearly bankrupt. We know how to deal with oil prices high. We have to survive. But all of these crises, what scares me is the crisis I didn't know. I didn't even think in my wildest dreams about the pandemic. When I bought NH, if somebody would say to me, well, within 2 years, you're going to have to close all your hotels. All of them closed. You think I would have bought that? No. Who was thinking about pandemic? Nobody. Who was thinking about a tsunami in Phuket? Nobody. So those are the things that scare me because I never had any experience. But today, if we have another pandemic, I think we all know what to do. We'll wear our masks, we'll be safe, we'll get vaccinated if we have to, and maybe we'll be lucky and Mother Nature will bring Omicron and we'll all find out we don't need vaccines. So who knows? But the idea is that that doesn't scare me anymore. SARS didn't scare me. And that's why even if you would have told me about the possibility of pandemic, I would have said, well, SARS was a pandemic, and look, we solved that quickly. So what I'm scared about is things I don't know. Tomorrow, if we have another world war between, now I heard Russia and China are getting friendly, and if the Ukraine gets invaded and we have a world war, that I haven't experienced. Because in my life, World War II, well, that was my father. He was there, but I wasn't there for a world war.
That could be the crisis we don't know.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. Another world war. We're looking at an economic crisis, right now. You gotta accept that we see for the first time, now Russia is insisting on payment in rubles, and they're linking back to gold. We could see a huge economic crisis if people lose confidence in the US dollar, which I got to tell you, they've been printing those US dollars like there's no tomorrow, and they're printing euros like no tomorrow. But nobody pays attention to gold. There isn't much more gold. You got to work really hard to get gold, and it costs money to get gold. It doesn't cost anything to print. You know, look at Bitcoin or Tether or any of the digital currencies. There's nothing there.
Gold still real.
It's confidence.
Yeah, gold
you
still
know?
real.
And so these are the things that are scary. We could, a tremendous financial, we thought we went through 1997. That was a small financial crisis. But as a matter of fact, tonight I'm going to have dinner with a guy called Joe Louis. Joe Louis owns the Tottenham Spurs football team. Anybody know them?
Okay.
He's now in Phuket for a couple of months. He's living on his boat. His boat is about 300 feet long. He has a tennis
With a tennis court.
in the basement.
Yeah,
Yes.
Bill told me already. Bill
So-
Burnett told me already.
So
another time.
he broke the Bank of England with Mr. Soros. That's how he made his money.
Right.
And so during these great crises, a lot of people make money. The medical companies, you know, especially the vaccine manufacturers, my God, don't even look at their profits. Other people that made money, shipping companies. My God, I wish I had a ship. You know, shipping companies made more money in the last 2 years than they made in their entire lifetime. So these are incredible opportunities that come. So always when you have a crisis, you also have opportunities.
Okay. Great crisis always come with good opportunity.
Exactly.
Right.
That's a Chinese proverb.
The next one, please. Call microphone นะครับ Before the next questions, what do you think about metaverse versus tourism?
One of the most exciting, you know, digitization is, trust me, I wish I was younger and I could study this because, and I would tell my grandchildren, that's what you better be studying. Everything to do with digitization, metaverse, digital technology.
But that can be replaced the real authentic
right.
experience, right? But what gonna do with metaverse to tourism then?
You know, who would have thought that Instagram would become what it is today?
Right.
You know, that everybody has to post and be on Instagram. And metaverse is going to be very interesting because maybe people will say, you know, I don't need to own a real Louis Vuitton bag. I can own one on the metaverse.
Right.
And all my friends will see that I have one, and I don't need to, you know, wear it in public.
Okay.
I'm not sure, but anyway, that's what they told me, and we'll see whether it happens.
Right.
Actually, my question kind of relate to Pico's question, but what's your view on digital currency, and would miner embrace the technology in the near future?
Blockchain?
Yeah.
We're already embracing blockchain, and we're already looking at the possibility of doing our own token and doing, what is it, ETFs or ETGs or whatever, NFGs. I can't even call the stuff. But I have to tell you that in our priority of things to do, actually doing our own token is fairly low. But we're definitely studying it, and we've been looking at it. We made that acquisition within BitCrop. I'm a great admirer of him. Is it Kun Top, I think, isn't it?
Kun Top, yes.
Kun Top. He may be the richest man in Thailand, trust me. So his thinking is, you're not going to find anybody that. So there's a lot to be learned from him. And but definitely this is the new wave. You know, tokens and Bitcoins, you know, Bitcoin, there's nothing behind it. It's only confidence that you can't mine more than what you can get. So it's like the US dollar. If there's no confidence, trust me, the US dollar could collapse overnight. But there's confidence. There's inflation, low inflation. So, but you know, coins, oh my God. And the money, you know, the biggest customers for our residential houses in Layan, which is, I must tell you that, you know, the nicest place to live in Thailand is courtesy of Kun Ko to me, because shareholder helped us with to get Layan, where we have the Anantara Layan today. And there, many people bought houses, but most of the buyers were from digital currencies and games and what have you, all to do with this new wealth. There's trillions of dollars there, nothing to do with the stock market, nothing to do with gold, nothing to do with even business as we know it. It's all about this new technology, and they're making money on it, I can tell
Is
you.
miner looking to invest into crypto as well?
It's changing all the time, and you know, there's going to be winners and losers, and you know, I'm still uncertain when you can steal the Bitcoin so easily. I see people always disappearing with losing their wallets or whatever. So but study it. There's going to be a lot of money made.
It's a trend there. It's a trend coming there for sure, right? คุณหญิง Anybody want to ask after คุณหญิง and คุณแชมป์ Okay.
Okay, before you go to lunch. Okay.
And คุณแชมป์ will be the last one, okay?
Sawadee Bill, thank you very much for coming all the way here. I'm very grateful to be listening to you today. You made us proud. Thank you very much for that. I've got 3 questions. The first one is, how do you manage your stress? I know it has been a very difficult time, especially during COVID. I listened to you once. You said this is not like a walk in the park. It has been really tough. So how did you manage that? Secondly, what are your recommendations for smaller hotels? Like us here, we are family-owned hotels. What are your recommendations for us post-COVID? What would happen in the future, and how would you? What should we do to survive after COVID? And thirdly, why is it minor, not major?
All right, good. 3 good questions. I'll answer the last one first. The reason why minor isn't major is because when I started the company, I was 17. So by English law and maybe Thai law, if you're not 18, you can't have a bank account. You couldn't do all these things. So I was a minor. So if I'd been over 18 when I started my company, it could have been major. And then Kun Wicha wouldn't have been very happy.
Okay.
But I was a minor, so I started minor. You know, going back to your first question really which is how do I deal with stress? I love what I'm doing. I have no stress. Last night, I can tell you, I slept for only 2 hours. We were up all night for this bidding in London, and our team is in London, and so they were all working hard. And but it was, to me, it's very exciting. So, and when you're doing something that you enjoy and you love, it doesn't feel like work. So you don't get stressed. Yes, I probably do get stressed sometimes about certain things, but as I mentioned earlier, you know, if you work hard, and I like to believe I work hard, I love to work, but then you got to play hard. You got to go do things. I fly airplanes, I race old cars, I go diving, I go boating. You know, I really enjoy my life, and you got to enjoy your life. And if you do, and if you're working at something, you know, if you're not happy with what you're doing, if you're not happy working in the family hotel, get out. Don't stay, because you will be an unhappy person in your life. You have to do something that fills you with passion and makes you want to get up every morning and go to work and be excited, and, you know, no matter what is happening. So that's the most critical thing. And if you do that, you'll never have a problem.
May I ask, if you get stressed somehow, what you gonna do about that?
Take a break. I just go out on the boat. I go diving, go fishing, go anything, just to take your mind off that. I go race cars. You know, when I used to race cars, it takes total concentration. I didn't enjoy golf much because I kept thinking while I was playing golf. Every time walking to the next hole, I would be thinking. But when you do something, when you're flying a helicopter or you're flying an airplane, which I do, then it takes total concentration. And you don't have any room to talk about or think about the problems in the office or whatever. When you're diving, you should be concentrating on exactly what you're doing. And
you should invite General Prayut to take a plane with you.
Oh, I'd love to invite him. I don't think he wants to see me. And although I have a Thai passport, I'm still waiting one day that I may not be welcome in Thailand. So, but so far, they still haven't expelled me yet. So, but coming to your next question, you know, what to do? It's a tough one because, you know, now, as I said, I think it's a battle between getting to be the giants. And there are not only giants with us in here, but in China, my God, there's giants there. And the use of digitization, the cost now of everything, artificial intelligence. We use artificial intelligence to answer the telephone, to answer people's questions. You know, you can't do this as a small boutique hotel. If you're a boutique hotel and you can carve out your niche, whether it's a backpacker's niche or it's a 5-star niche, yes, there's room for you to do that. But the minute you want to go beyond being small to being medium-sized or bigger, you need to have something. What we're doing to help owners of smaller hotel groups is to franchise. We will franchise some of our brands. So brands like NH or Tivoli or Anantara or Avani, if the operator knows how to run the business, if the family's been in the business for a long time and they know what they're doing and they're going to deliver a product that we will be proud of and they will be proud of, we have no objection to franchising. Then they can manage it themselves and they can be in control of their future. And so then they use all of the back technology, but they don't have to have either the brand name or they can keep their own brand for that matter, but they're paying for the technology and the other uses. So I think you have to be working with someone these days. I think to do it alone is very hard unless you have a very strong niche. You know, if you had a little hotel on Phi Phi Island, I think you got a chance. You know, if you've got a little hotel in Phuket, it's going to be tougher. So if you've got a little hotel in Bangkok, you know, boy, it's really tough. So, but anyway, I think franchising is one of the ways. You know, that's what we do. You know, we have people now that operate pizza companies, Swenson's, Bonchon, Sizzler, Dairy Queen, all around Thailand, around the world that are franchisees. We help them to be their own business people, you know, so, you know, that's got advantages and disadvantages, but nonetheless, it's not a bad way to be.
Right.
Hope that answers your question.
The last one, Kun Cham, please.
I'd like to ask about the global demand after this pent-up demand period. So within like at the end of this year or the beginning of next year, there's going to be a lot of revenge travel, like you said, and that's going to be a huge demand, maybe higher than 2019, like you mentioned. But what is the general scene going to look like afterwards? What is going to be the trend for globally? Will there be more long haul, less long haul? Will it be more domestic traveling? What will be the global travel trends look like? And which market do you think will come on top or have an advantage afterwards, do you think?
Well, let me tell you my theory, which, you know, as I said, I lost $1 billion the last 2 years, so maybe my theory isn't so good. But I bought NH because I believe that China is going to be the biggest travelers. And they've already seen all of China, especially during the pandemic. They can't go out. They haven't been out of China for 2 years. So you talk about pent-up demand. There's huge demand in China, and they're waiting to come. But to me, I felt that sooner or later, people are going to want to go to Paris and see the Eiffel Tower. They're going to want to go to Spain and Marbella and some of the beautiful places in Milan and Italy and go see the Tuscany and see the winemakers and drink some good wine. You know, these are the things that we don't have in our home countries. You know, yes, we've got Khao Yai wines and we've got things, but it's not like Tuscany. It's not like Bordeaux in France. So I believe people are going to want to travel to experience more things. And I think what will come out is that your revenge travel, once China opens up, we got a whole new group of revenge travelers coming. That'll probably take us through to 23 or 24. But at the end of the day, the shakeup that I think is we will have lost a lot of competitors. A lot of people will fail. A lot of people weren't able to recover from this crisis. And then we'll see a few hotels that will disappear. That won't hurt us. It'll make the ones that survive stronger and better and whatnot. I believe going forward that there will be higher rates. You know, hotels got into producing just too many hotel rooms, building too many hotels, and, you know, rates plummeted. You know, you could get a rate in a 5-star hotel in Bangkok for $100, where that same hotel, if it was in London, you'd pay $1,000 for that hotel. So, you know, we did definitely build too much, and then when there is too much demand, then of course prices go down. But I think as a result of this, we'll see a shakeup and we'll see rates going up. I think we'll see less travelers. You know, today, I can tell you, if you try to get a plane, I hope you got your booking to London on Easter, because it is so hard. And the rates go up. If you delay getting your booking, the price goes up by £1,000. I had to go to London the other day, and that's what, you know, the rates are going up. They're yielding so much now, and there's so few flights. And if you cancel your flight or try to change it, you may not get another flight. So it's really tough. And that means the only people that are really traveling are people that generally have quite a lot of money. And they don't mind what they pay if you deliver the results. And so there are fewer people traveling, but spending more money. They're spending more money on that. Also, you got to be prepared. You know, if you're unlucky and you come to Thailand and your PCR test tests positive, you got to be ready to pay 10 days in the hospital. You know, that's no fun. You know, and, you know, who wants to travel with that risk? You know, in London and in Dubai, you don't have any risk of being, you know, quarantined for forever. You have a risk that you may not get back to Thailand, Because if you get your PCR test positive in London, you can't get on the plane until you're negative. But then, you can never get negative because you got to, even if they let you out of London, they won't let you into Thailand because then you'll go into another 10 days. So, and what we have now is something called long COVID. So, you may have COVID in your blood when you can't pass it, or who knows, it'll sit with you for a long time. So we've got to change the rules and regulations. This is not something to be feared anymore. I think we've all overcome the fear of COVID and we understand it better. So
there will be a very emergency meetings on the 8th of April, and hopefully they will rule out everything.
I hope so. I've got my fingers crossed. You sent me the best news. I shared the news with Kun Surat, and I just hope we can put enough pressure that they would help us do it. Because to build up the engine in tourism, it takes months. People don't, decide that the laws get changed tomorrow and then they come the next day. It takes months for the travel agents to get accustomed and everything. So if we do it now, if we're lucky, we'll get some impact in the third quarter or the fourth quarter.
Right.
But if we don't do it now, by June, it may lose the real high season because it won't have enough time.
Great. Once again, thank you very much. Big applause to Kun Bill Heinecke one more time. Thank you very much. It's very informative. Kun Sia, would you say appreciate our remarks, please?
Bill? On behalf of MCDT, I would like to thank you for your presence. Thank you for taking the time to come down here and enlighten us with, of course, your growth strategies, where you're always growing as a group, as becoming one of the biggest players in the market currently, and also with your vision as a global operator. Maybe one of us here, hotel owners here, may use your brand and value your partnership in the near future. Thank you.
I hope maybe somebody that's not happy with the family business or the hotel that they're working at will come and work with us. So, and we'll try to give you a lot of passion and pleasure in what you're doing. So thank you all again. Tuk-tuk-kon. Oh, okay. We can take pictures from there. Okay. Oh.
เดี๋ยวเรารีบกินข้าวเพราะรองกลางมาแล้วผมไม่กินข้าวครึ่งชั่วโมงได้ไหมนะขอครึ่งชั่วโมงนะจ๊ะแล้วรีบกลับมานะเอาไปเลยไป